Happy Wednesday night, and welcome to Deep in the Plus. This is the show where we go deep into the Disney Plus catalog, pull out a TV show or a movie, and we talk about it. Tonight, we are talking about Once Upon a Time Season 1. Hope you did your homework or remember it vaguely. If you have not already, please make sure to subscribe to WDWNT TV and also click that thumbs up as it helps people to find us. Now, I know what you're asking. You're saying, Rob, did you go back and watch 17 hours of TV just for this show? Yeah, I did, and so did these people. Starting with Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rob. You're the fairest of them all.
Aw, thank you so much. Desi?
All hail the queen.
Speaking of, Patrick.
Hey, anybody want to make a deal?
Oh, I see what you did
Oh.
there. I see what you did there, dearie. So again, we're talking about Once Upon a Time. The catalyst for this originally was, I think this is where it started, is Patrick and I reviewed The Descendants, and we were like, huh, isn't this a lot like ... Once Upon a Time? And Desi and Stephanie were like, yeah, we should totally do that. 22 episodes. 22 episodes in season 1. So yeah, it's been a minute. For those of you who do not know, Once Upon a Time was a TV show on ABC prime time, started in 2011, ended in 2018. It was a story about a dwarf named Dreamy who was born out of an egg, full size, fell in love with a fairy, and then turned grumpy. It's just a tale as old as time. I have so many issues and things to talk about with this tonight that if anybody is a huge fan of this show, please know that it's probably mostly done with love. So let me ask you about this, Stephanie. When you first saw this show, like, let's just go around. When you first saw the show, do you remember watching all of it? And then, like, was it like a family event?
I don't know about a family of it, but sure watched it every Sunday night. I was not missing an episode. Taped it on my TiVo if I missed it, that kind of thing. Um, I think it was because I loved Lost. If you recall, that show was a pretty big hit back in the day, and a lot of the same actors came over to this show after that, and it had sort of a similar vibe. You didn't really know what the plot was going to turn and twist and what was going to happen, who was who, and yeah, I think that's kind of where Lost kind of fell down towards the end, and I mean, so did this show, but the finale was not really what everybody was hoping for in Lost, and I think that this show kind of picked up some of that vibe, and we were hoping that it would turn out differently. And anyway, we'll get to that.
Rumpel?
So just had this conversation with my wife. She said that I watched episode 1 and I was like, nah. And then I realized the creative team behind it is also the creative team behind Tron Legacy. I'm a fan of that, so I started watching. As I was watching this, I'm like, I really don't recall anything until Hook gets involved. So this was pretty fresh. I remember bits and pieces, but yeah, this is something.
Yeah, Adam Horowitz, Edward Kitness. Now, I remember that, like, ABC loved them so much. I had a friend on the inside that was like, they got their own wing of the building because of all the stuff that they did for Lost, and they were like, oh yeah, let's give this guys whatever they want. And at the time, they were like the big dogs because, like you said, Patrick, they did Tron Legacy, Tron Uprising. They did all of the Once Upon a Time, Wonderland, and Lost, and so they brought all their fellow Lost cast members in there. But they were a big deal, and I was thinking, where they been at? All right, Desi, what's up?
So I was single and did not obviously have streaming yet. So this was like my show that I would legitimately arrange my schedule for. I would watch this. This and Heroes were probably the two shows that I would actually watch religiously, and like I had to watch it exactly when it came out. So it was and not only did I watch it when it came out, but I also DVR'd it because that was a thing that people did back then. Do people still do that? I don't know. Yeah, this was something that I had to watch every single week when it came out.
Well, and do we want to explain to people what TiVo was, Stephanie, or you think everybody's good on that one?
It was the best, especially if you had the record onto, like, right onto a DVD. So you could record it on your DVR and then copy it onto a DVD. It was great.
That sounds illegal, if that makes sense. When
To
you
a
pull up
narc?
Once Upon a well, yeah, when you pull up Once Upon a Time on Disney Plus, you get this. Who is this? Who is this character? It's not the Magic Mirror, and it doesn't look
I
like
thought it was
Regina or
Regina.
Snow. You
I
think
thought
it's
it was Regina with
I thought it was
Regina,
Regina.
yeah.
Swan.
Okay, so it's Regina.
wings.
Gotcha. I do love the family photo, by the way, once you get here with like Henry looking all tough here, and Snow and Charming and Emma, and for some reason Belle. Like, is she one of the main characters? I feel like not really.
Henry, who is his own step great uncle.
Right.
Very complicated, yeah. So the real basic gist of this is that there is a fairy tale world, and Regina is the evil queen, and instead of just turning into an old hag and giving Snow an apple, she decides to put this curse on the entire kingdom, basically putting them all into a horrible place, which is Maine. The worst place you could
No,
possibly
How
think
dare
of.
you?
This
dare
was
you? New
Regina's
England's
curse.
wonderful.
This was Regina's curse, not mine. I'm just telling you. She goes, I'm going to send them someplace horrible. Maine. Patrick, let me ask you, do you think this is the original FU? Fairy tale universe. I'm sorry. What was I? I'm sorry.
Got it.
Wow.
I mean, isn't Grimm's like the original fairy tales universe? Is that where they all kind of originate? Or, yeah.
It's like the connected MCU. I feel like a lot of people have made that connection because they all come together here. And I'm not really sure that's it, because they try to make all of these characters seem like they make sense together. I referenced Dreamy. In that storyline, there are 8 dwarves per pack. And apparently they come in sets. And if you lose Stealthy, then now you only have 7. So then they, but then, their job is to mine, in the gem mine, but not to get gems, but to get the gems to turn them into fairy dust so that we can introduce the blue fairy as part of that system. And then, like,
Why are you so obsessed with Grumpy?
aren't we all?
He's a drunk.
So then, but like, you've got Jiminy Cricket, and Jiminy Cricket is interconnected because his parents killed Pinocchio's parents, and then
Yo,
Geppetto's
You
parents.
can't, you can't
Geppetto's.
just breeze over that.
Geppetto's
That was
parents, yeah.
utterly insane.
But I'm just saying, like, they didn't just go with the source material here. Obviously, they rewrote all of this. And Stephanie, you're nodding your head a lot. Did it bother you, or were you like, oh, this is cool, it's a different telling, or were you like, no, that's not how it goes?
At the time I first watched it, I thought it was really cool because, again, like, they're trying to insert Rumpelstiltskin. He's the beast. He's not just Rumpelstiltskin, but he's interwoven in these other stories. He obviously, had an integral part with Cora, Regina's mother, and how that turned out. So I liked how they did that initially. I don't know if it's rewatchability is there as I'm watching it for the second time. But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. Again, some of that kind of fell apart in the later episodes.
Yeah. So Patrick, the Geppetto Pinocchio situation that rocked your world.
That was so dark. The kid comes home to find his parents as puppets. By the way, spoilers for a decade-plus old show. But
Right.
I don't know, man. That really blew my mind. I was like, this is dark. And then it's everything else is what if character but sexy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. The huntsman, right? Like, the original huntsman in Snow White was this like huge like buffoon of a guy, and but no, not here. It's like, Mr. Gray will see you now. So I mean, it's just, yeah, everybody's pretty, right? I guess. Do we think that?
Except Grumpy.
Oh, don't you come down on Grumpy or Mr. Gold. I
Yeah,
mean,
but he's,
also,
he's one of the best
legit
actors,
spooky.
though. Yes, I
yeah,
agree. Patrick.
Robert
Yeah.
Carlyle. I was looking at him, going, he must have been in a ton of things because he is such a great actor in this, and yet at the same time, because his part could be so cringy, and yet he pulls it off.
Right.
Yes.
Like that's one of those
Gold
things
face
where
paint and all.
right, when he's Gold and he's got the limp and he's being serious and all that, that's okay. And then when he's, calling everybody dearie and doing this thing, why? Wait, where did that come from? Because let's go through the evolution of that. He kills the Dark One, and then he becomes the Dark One, and he's still fine. He's still normal and timid and all that. And he's got a son, and he's going and stomping on snails and all this stuff. And then when we see him as Mr. Gold, he's normal and not weird, but then he's like the weirdest version of the Joker in between, and I don't understand where it happened. Right?
He went crazy after he lost his son.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah, I guess that's okay. Is there a part of this like the lore that bothered you, or again were you like, hey, let's see where they're going with this?
I would say the only thing that I noticed on a rewatch that bothered me was that they kept saying, "Oh, true love's kiss will, break any curse," and so Emma and Graham, the huntsman, kiss, and that wakes him up. So I guess she was his true love. I guess, after he met her for like a week. But when Snow and Prince Charming kiss, neither one of them wake up.
Yes, exactly. That was driving me nuts. I was like talking to my wife about it. I was like, didn't they kiss? Because I remember being like all upset about the fact that they were kissing in front of grannies, in front of everyone. And it's like, you're really not good at this. You're not sneaking around. This is the smallest town in Maine, and y'all are kissing out in front of everybody who's been sitting here. That's not a smart thing to do. Neither is handing your girlfriend a card that says, "Catherine, I woof you." Like, that's a bad idea. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's just, and I'm not trying to say like, they should have been better at cheating. No, I'm not just saying it, but I just remember them kissing and thinking, why didn't that whoosh over them and they were okay. Some of the things in this though, story driving wise, were so frustrating to me. And Patrick, I'm going to throw this one to you, is that like the whole thing with Mary Margaret, where it's like that secret was going to come out anyway, that they were together. And even if David had told Catherine that it was because of Mary Margaret, she still would have called her like the town harlot or something. But everybody went on a dime from she is the best person in the world to the worst person in the world. Then they thought she was a murderer. And then the next night they come over for a party.
I don't have those answers that you're looking for.
I need them.
But why did no one ever try and figure out whose heart it was if it wasn't Catherine's heart? That heart belonged to someone. Who else was murdered? What happened? Also,
I believe Sydney said that he paid
huntsman.
somebody like from the morgue for that heart.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I must have missed that. But like, there's just so much there. A lot of times in television shows, especially, God, do you remember 22 episode long seasons? Like, that's insane these days. You get 7 episodes.
One thing I was thinking about this season as a whole is that this season was not meant for binging. This is pre-streaming, pre-binging. This season was meant to watch week by week. Each episode was its own little story. And you're not really supposed to watch them all strung together like this. Because when you watch them all strung together, you realize, wow, Emma sure got over Graham quickly. This guy that she was making out with and then died as she was making out with him. She's like completely over it 2 weeks later. So I just, that was one thing that struck me, was this show was specifically meant for a week by week viewing and not meant to be binged. Whereas shows today, they expect you to binge them. They expect you to, when they're all released, watch them all at the same time.
jumping off of that is there's no like bottle episode. There's no lull. It is plot, 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 every which way you look, and it doesn't stop. This is probably the most engaged I've been for a Deep in the Plus review, because you can't lose focus. You can't lose focus for even a second. There's a billion things going on.
You mean like this?
And yet...
Oh, stop it. It's horrible. This is so bad.
And they're like the ugliest puppets of all time.
Oh, God. And they were beautiful people. Oh.
One more time.
And somehow those puppets make it to Storybrooke.
Oh, God.
And yet, I feel like while you're saying everything is plot driven and that kind of thing, yes, but I also feel like it's sort of like a soap opera where you can miss an episode and then watch the recap and kind of go back over and find out in a few seconds what happened over an hour's time in the last episode.
Yeah, I don't even think it was sort of a soap opera, Stephanie. I think it was definitely a soap opera. It was a soap opera set to the background of fairy tale characters. I mean, again, we talked about the beautiful people. Well, I mean, not Archie. He's all right. But the beautiful people and do you have an Archie thing?
No,
I mean,
he's sweet.
He's not Killian.
No, he's not Killian. No, you're right. I'm sorry. I misread this in situation completely. I apologize.
He's better than Neil.
No, we're not talking about Neil. Neil's season 2. We're not talking about Neil. But the idea of this is that it's it is set as a soap opera with with a character background. The back and forth, and you talked about this, Stephanie, so I'll throw this back to you. The back and forth of Lost, because you said, this kind of harkened back to Lost. This is exactly the thing I've kind of hated about Star Wars episodes recently with Boba Fett and Andor, of the back and forth until we catch you up. Like, here's where Boba was crawling out of the Sarlacc pit, but here he is now. And every time he goes into the back to tank, we're doing and I'm sorry, this is the wrong audience to be doing this with, but he'll go, it's like back and forth for the first couple of episodes. And then once they're like, okay, you got the background, now let's just move forward. That's not here. This is continually, just like Lost, back and forth and back and forth. Do you like that, or is it too much?
I liked it to begin with. Obviously, I watched the show all the way through to the end of season 6. But I think with Lost, because you were kind of looking at this like, oh, is this a flashback? Is this present day? It was kind of intermixed like that, like you're talking about. This one had the beautiful CGI that you could just automatically know. I say that sarcastically. You knew that was the fairy tale world, except for when they were outside, and they do have some actual, on set, on site pieces, I guess you could say, outdoors in the forest. And that was nice. But whenever they're doing all of their castle pieces and other scenes like that, they're always CGI. And it was pretty awful. But yeah, I mean, you kind of look at that and say, okay, well, we clearly know this is part of the flashback.
What's funny about that is that, like, it seems like because of when we all started this series, it was 2011, right? So it feels like a long time ago, but it ended in 2018, which was just 6 years ago. So
I'm sorry, what?
Are you talking about the adult version of Henry was in 2018?
Yes. That's
right. Because that's not even connected to like the main show.
Well, excuse me, I'm sorry. When you look at this, it says it ran from 2011 to 2018. So I'm just saying,
but not consistently.
And then wasn't there the spin-offs too?
Well, there's only one spin-off. There was
Once
Upon a Time in Wonderland, which was during it, which was completely. Somebody said something about that earlier. It's like it was completely cut off from the rest of it because like they didn't even reuse the same characters and actors. Like it was weird. But when you were talking, about the fact that the CGI was so bad, I'm thinking this wasn't so long ago, and Game of Thrones was on, so like you could throw money at a TV show and make it look good. But one of the things that I think is kind of the worst is when Regina comes in the very beginning to the castle, and they show her walking.
Oh,
And
and
it's
it
just
looks like she's gliding.
yeah, like
Oh my god!
what the
And no,
like what the heck? What is? I
I
mean, what it reminds me of is Reed Carney doing Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark on Broadway as he's walking on a treadmill, and it's like, did they have a green screen treadmill? Is that what happened? And then they just slid her through. Like, I don't know. Patrick, you didn't
Yeah.
see that at the beginning because it was bad.
I didn't notice that one. There's, oh hey, this is pretty good CGI, and then there's some that looks like they put a cartoon dragon on the screen, and or a cartoon wolf. It oh man, it was so hit or miss, so hit or miss.
Yeah. So let's talk about the fact that actor-wise, there weren't. I mean, there every now and then, Barbara Hershey, for instance, they would throw somebody in. You're like, oh, I know her, but for the most part, they were all kind of, sort of unknown. Wouldn't you say?
No,
At the
Jennifer
time.
Morrison. Jennifer Morrison was
Oh.
just off a House,
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
like a
Yeah.
huge turn in House.
Okay. So other than Jennifer Morrison.
And the actors from Lost.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh yeah, that's true. The actors from Lost, but
There's
they
a
were all
bunch.
usually cameo situations when they came in, right? It was just like a brief amount of time. And again, most of them were not in except for Belle, were not in season
Right.
one, and she was barely in it. But like I said, she's in the cast photo of here's all the things you're going to see in this one. Also,
Wasn't
rewriting.
Jennifer? Jennifer Goodwin was in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. One of those rom-coms from around then.
He's just not
But-
that into you. Or
That's
something
it.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course in 2016 became the Honorable Judy
A
Hopps,
crooked
so-
cop.
Yes.
a crooked cop. But from an acting standpoint, again, I still feel like Robert Carlyle as Rumpel was really kind of nailed it. And I was kind of bought into him the entire time.
Are you saying this isn't Giancarlo Esposito's best role of all time?
Wasn't he in Lost too?
Yeah. Do you think people ask him about this? Like,
Honestly, he was pretty
dude's-
good.
he's a capital A actor, though. Like,
Okay.
So good.
I was gonna complain about a different plot point, but let's complain about that one for a second. The genie from Agrabah is taken out of the lamp by the king who is Snow White's
From
dad.
Snow White.
And the king is like, Toby from West Wing. He's like, I don't really need anything, so let me go
My
ahead and
life's
just give you
awesome.
this lamp back. Yeah, he's like, I'm the best, let me just go ahead and give you this lamp back, and then I'm gonna free you, and then you can have one wish. And he's like, well, wishes are always, they always backfire every single time. And then he goes and he casts his own wish, and what? It backfires. And then so the magic mirror is really the genie from Agrabah, but also doesn't take his own advice, but also has this weird power that he's not the magic mirror. He's a dude that can go from mirror to mirror. Like,
Yes.
you've lost all credibility here.
and this all gets retconned in Wish when Magnifico becomes
Sure.
the magic mirror.
Yeah,
Right.
obviously.
Ah.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that plot point bothered me a little bit as well. But again, I know that what they were doing was they were trying to create mystery. They were trying to create a reason all these people were together. They're trying to create a reason that Jiminy Cricket is on the War Council. I mean, I guess that
Why
makes
does
sense. 'cause
Jiminy
he-
Cricket have Pongo?
You remember the story, the fairy tale of Pongo, the 101 Dalmatians? What a fairy tale that was. They do bring in Cruella
then-
DeVille later.
Yes,
If
they do.
if Pongo exists, like I told you, I text Rob frequently. It's gonna be really hard for me to get through this without swearing because this is Batguarna insane. So if Pongo is with Jiminy Cricket, Pongo's not a common name for a dog. Does 101 Dalmatians exist in this world? Or is
I don't
that
know.
is that just Pongo?
Their storyboard, the writer storyboard must look like the boards from A Beautiful Mind. All the red, lines going everywhere like this.
Yeah. So let's get into why Regina has set this curse forth on the entire kingdom of Storybook Land. It is because Snow White, as a child, was tricked into telling her mother about the stable boy that she probably would have found out about anyway. But then the mom kills the
Daniel.
the stable boy Daniel. I'm sorry, we'll call him Daniel. She kills Daniel, and then we're not mad at the mom, but we're going to have a life
Thank you.
vendetta against Snow and kill her dad
Yeah,
like
I'm
you
pretty
that.
see,
sure
play the
she's
long
upset
game.
with her mom.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, kill her dad like that and make Snow's life miserable, but that's not enough. Like, I mean, again, Stephanie, is this an? It seems like a weak point to base the entire series on.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what episode 18, that's the pivotal episode that tells you
Yeah,
why Regina's so mad at Snow. And I just remember watching that and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But the second time around, I'm thinking, what? Why aren't you mad at your mother? Like, I'd be the one that would be just so irate at her and try to use my magic against her. But then in the later episodes, they go together to fight against, Snow and whatever they're calling him, David, and she's trying to take Rumpelstiltskin's powers, and Regina's helping her, and I'm going, why? She's the one that ruined your life to begin with, and Regina's playing the long game. She marries the father when the child is like. Snow White's like 10. What? She's little. And then you fast forward a few episodes and you see her and she's in her 20s or something like that. And I'm like, Regina's been hanging out this whole time, like doing nothing. Like, what are you doing?
yeah. I mean, it seems like it's a little bit over the top. Bottle episode, you said that there wasn't anything, Patrick, that was separate. Hansel and Gretel, that one
Yeah.
seemed like it was a little standalone, right? Did we feel? Do you feel like we needed that episode?
No, I don't think we did. I think there's a lot of like shoehorning in of characters just because they're in the public domain. Like King Midas. Did we really need to throw King Midas in there?
Yeah.
Um it's just adding on because like you're saying, they're creating this fairy tale television universe. And so,
Yeah.
Hansel and Gretel just sitting there doing nothing. You could use them.
Right.
Again,
Well,
not meant to be binged, meant to each be its own individual episode week by week.
Desi
And I
over
would
here,
even
like
say,
defending, like as.
I, I was
Go
going to
ahead,
say,
Steph.
I actually like that part about it because each episode was different. And you have this whole town filled with storybook characters. And yet the majority of episodes are just about the core people. And I'm like, well, why is there someone sitting? Who is that sitting across from Granny's diner? Like, why aren't we
Yeah.
listening? Where are the other
Technically, we
ones?
Well,
didn't need Cinderella's story either, because
yeah.
That's right.
she
Agreed.
didn't have.
Agreed.
Although
Oh, it was sweet.
although I forgot that Rumpel just flat out killed the fairy godmother. Just like, I was like, okay, oh, where is this going? Because I don't remember it. It's been a long time. And then just like, boom, I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then it's the whole thing about instead of granting a wish, Rumpel's making deals over here. And it's like where we have the original story where the fairy godmother gives her all these things. Rumpel wants her firstborn child. So,
All magic
mean,
comes with a price.
dearie, exactly. But to your point, Stephanie, like each one of these episodes, these first 12 or 22 episodes, most of them in the beginning, each one's almost an individual origin story, even though they're all connected. Each one's its own individual origin story, like the shepherd. Like Patrick, did you remember that like James just gets flat out killed? Because I was like,
No.
yeah, yeah, and
Nope.
and they're like,
There
oh,
are so
don't
many
worry.
people that are flat out murdered, and I'm like, there is a lot of murder here.
Yeah.
I did not recall all the murder. And also, I did not recall how kind of forward they are about Red Riding Hood being, the never settle down party girl. Um, it like I said, I remember a bit more from later season 3 on. Hook is awesome. This first season is complete anarchy, and people are murdered, wolves are murdered, deer are murdered. There's fistfights in a tavern, and Jennifer Morrison and the Queen and Emma come to blows. What, 2-3 times?
Yes.
What, when you're talking about Little Red Riding Hood, what in particular was a thing that you wanted to talk about with
Ruby.
this particular?
Oh, she's awesome. She's great. She's a great character.
I hope you're not shaming her.
No,
I'm not. I'm being. I really think it's a good character.
Sincere.
I forgot how overtly they hammered the point home. I didn't recall that. Like, it is really pounded into you.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot that she had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
I forgot that she was the wolf.
Oh, how could you forget that?
I also forgot that, yeah.
Twist.
Yeah, I know. It was like, oh, yeah. And then it's like, he's not the wolf. Bum, bum, bum. Yep. And then she goes,
And then his name's Peter. How perfect is that?
Yes, Peter and the Wolf.
Yeah. Oh, you don't think that was accidental, right? I mean, that's pretty on the nose of what they were doing there. All right. So let me ask you this, Desi, because I'm not shaming Ruby here, but I want to like switch it to the guys for a second. If you could help me out with this. Sebastian Stan is in here, the Winter Soldier, as Jefferson, aka the Mad Hatter.
Yep.
There's a lot of, I'm going to go ahead and say man candy in this. It's not Josh Tomorrow level. It's not. But I mean,
who is?
Do you have? Can you rank them? Do you have a favorite?
Probably Graham, Prince Charming, and then the Mad Hatter. Just for me personally, yeah.
Really, Josh Dallas, interesting. Yeah, Mary Margaret thought that too. The funny part about. Go ahead. What were you say? Say it.
It was a little bit of art imitating life. Did anyone else feel uncomfortable about David having an affair with Snow White's alter ego and then leaving his wife for her so that they could have their own happily ever after? I mean, that in case you didn't know,
that's what happened
in real life.
In real life, Josh Dallas left his wife and married Jennifer Goodwin, and they're married to this day. Yes, in real life that happened.
And they have a little son on the show, and that's when she was really pregnant. And
I did know that.
Let me stop for a second because we do have a super chat from the Drama Factor, $5. Hey Desi, oh hey Rob.
Hi.
So that's my favorite. That's 2 in a row. That's awesome. That's my favorite. So thank you so much. Hey Desi, oh hey Rob. There you go. You're welcome, Stephanie and Patrick. Anyway, yeah, I what about Pinocchio? There's a lot of weirdness about Pinocchio. Are you gonna put him in the ranking
too?
Is he really?
Maybe right under Josh Dallas.
Okay. I have a thing for Josh's as well, so it makes sense. But I was looking, again, I saw a Once Upon a Time panel at D23, one of the early years that I went, and it was either the 2011 or 2013, and most of the cast was there, but not Josh Dallas. But then he came in from the back, he was like, I have a question, and then it was like, oh, he's here. Well, obviously he's here because Jennifer Goodwin is here, and therefore he's here. So anyway, I appreciate. Thanks again for the super chat, and I appreciate the ranking, Desi. I figured you might be able to fix that for us. I think Sebastian Stan did a good job in that episode, but that episode again was sort of isolated because it didn't further the story along. Mary Margaret had already escaped from prison, and she had her arraignment, and that was what happened in between so that we could be introduced to Jefferson, his daughter, and the worst makeup anybody has ever done, as Regina did for the street urchin lady. That was so weird. I have no idea what was happening there. The one other thing, Patrick, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but there was a scene where Henry forgets his lunch, and Regina brings him his lunch in a Tron lunchbox.
Yes, of course
I
I
didn't
noticed
know
that.
I want that
Of
lunchbox
course.
so bad. I can't even tell you how badly that I want that lunchbox. But yeah, Patrick, let me throw one more thing at you, though. You had mentioned King
Sure.
Midas. That episode is called What Happened to Frederick. Has a siren in it who's not the Lady of the Lake, but she's a lady in the lake, and then he dragging people to their deaths. And that one was kind of messed up.
Getting swords from watery tarts and lakes is no means of a system of government, Rob.
Great.
That's right. I'm
Great.
just going straight for Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I don't know. What did happen to Frederick? Who is Frederick? There's too many characters in this. Now I'm thinking back at it. I'm kind of glad murder started because I thought they just replaced him with more. And some people are like 6, 7 different people. We mentioned that Rumpelstiltskin is also the Beast, but he's also the Croc.
Oh, that's a
Yes.
different season.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, that's true.
But I just needed to get it included in this because he's good.
And the fairy
later.
godmother.
And,
And
yep.
the fairy godmother.
I asked you a question about like who that mask was, and you guys said that that's Regina.
Oh,
With-
yeah. I look.
With
It's the evil Swan.
oh, wow, okay,
Which became
all
the
right,
Dark Swan.
the Dark Swan.
Oh.
Man, this thing went off the rails later, didn't it? He's
It's
coming.
off the
Who's coming?
rails from
Who's
Jump
coming?
Street.
Peter Pan. Ah, like evil Peter
we're
Pan.
I did.
And then you know Regina's sister, her half sister. You know the Wicked Witch of the West. What?
Yes.
Like-
Yes. If we're talking though about the overlay and the intro and everything like that, one of the things that I loved was watching the very beginning because there was always a little bit of something to kind of tell you what the episode was going to be about. You know, if it was Jiminy Cricket, you would see a shadow of that, or you would kind of guess. You know, towards the end, the curse was coming. You would see a big cloud rolling over in the forest. Did you pay attention to that, or did you guys jump over that?
Yes, of course.
No,
Yeah, when it
always.
was about Pinocchio, you saw the motorcycle go by.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I did too, and I almost was gonna like write them all down because there was the spinning wheel, and then there was, there was the fairies going through, and then there was
Yes.
Snow and the Seven Dwarfs walking through, and I think that that's really cool that they went to the trouble to make a different intro. They spent all of that castle CGI money on the openings
The
so
intro?
that they could do those. Yeah, that's the thing that they did. I normally with this much stuff I wouldn't do trivia, but I have 5 questions I thought I'd just throw out at you guys. And again, thank you guys for being with us tonight. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. But I don't know if you guys will get these, but these are things I noticed. They're just 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're just 4 things. And then as a group, you guys can decide if you know the answer to this one. I feel like you might because I think that some of y'all are on to me. Regina's address. What is her street address?
I know it.
Go ahead.
108.
Say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
108.
Yeah, I figured you
Good
would
for
because
you.
we saw it constantly as she was always slamming the door in somebody's face, or somebody was always coming to see her.
Very telenovela-esque.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
The name of the dark one that Rumple had to kill. It was on the knife.
Bale. It's not Balefire, is it? That's someone else.
No, that's his son.
That's his
That's
son.
his son.
Yeah.
That's his son. Too many characters.
I know,
Kill them
yeah.
all. Too many characters. Let's get rid of them.
Except for
Start
Robin
mowing
Hood.
them down.
Robin Hood deserved
neither-
We're
it.
not. If y'all want to
Needed
do
a red
season
wedding.
2 through 6,
This
let's
this
do
show
it.
needed a red
Needed a
wedding.
red wedding.
I had no idea.
We lost-
Anybody got it? I don't know.
No.
We lost a good Rob in that red wedding. It was Zoso because I figured like it's sort of a Led Zeppelin-ish sort of a thing. It was just 4 letters Zoso on there, and he called the dark one. That was an interesting twist. I think the first time I saw it coming the second time, obviously, but I think the first time that one was something I saw coming. Jiminy Cricket's parents ran a puppet show. What was the name of the puppet show?
Punch and Judy.
Should have been, basically, right?
I mean, they're in the public domain too, so I could see the freaking cart, and I cannot.
We saw it.
We
saw it a bunch.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Even
was too traumatized by that
when
episode.
Geppetto handed off the, you're right. When he handed him the umbrella, they was standing in front of it. He was getting ready to put it up for the next town. It was Martin and Myrna's marionettes. I don't know. The last one. In the real world, the horrible world of Maine.
How dare you? Manus, I got you. You know, your whoopie pies and your red snappers. You get some bean supper.
Hansel and Gretel's dad's name as the mechanic. What was his name?
Oh my gosh.
It's right
You're
there on
really
his
going
outfit.
for
All
deep
right, I
cuts
know.
here.
I
He looks
don't
like
know.
a Murphy.
Murphy?
Ralph.
We're not all Sullys and Murphs here.
It was Michael. I'll put you out of your misery. It was Michael. So
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's my husband's
anyway.
name. I should have got that.
interesting. Yeah. So again, I started when the show when I was watching it first, very very much trying to do what I normally do when I watch this, is kind of take notes and see like what happens along the way. And then at some point I just was like, I just got to get through this, because it was 17 hours of TV that normally I would not like. Usually it's the kind of show that's like, hey, we're looking for something to do while we're sitting, like while we're both, on the couch with laptops open working, we'll throw something on. But like, to your point, Patrick, this was something you really sort of had to pay attention to in general. So I did pay attention to it and didn't get too crazy with stuff, but the plot hole thing is definitely something that I kept noticing, little details of changes to it that were so extreme, like the dwarves hatching from eggs, full grown. I feel like he even had clothes on, didn't he, when he came out?
Yeah.
Okay. And he was all smiley because he had all the pixie dust on it. Yeah, that was an interesting one. And then, do you remember the name of the foreman in the mine?
Red food.
I wish
Bossy.
Rob would let
He's
us do
mine.
things on Hulu that are on Disney Plus.
Bossy. Bossy was his name.
Bossy.
Yeah, Bossy was his name. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. So after we've spent the entire 21 episodes or 20 some episodes, and we get near the end, I feel like the end was very lame.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
I agree.
Stephanie, you kind of smiled when I said that. What do you think? Like with the dragon and I don't know.
Yeah, they're trying to bring up season 2. That's all I can say. Because don't they start season 2 with Sleeping Beauty? I think that they start with Aurora, or was that season 3, Desi?
No, that's 2. That's 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like the dragon thing came out of left field, because it's like, hey, I have a way out of this. And so they show us in the episode Charming putting the egg somehow
Right.
into the dragon. And then, the whole thing about, well, like, that's the thing, is like the solution is something we've never heard of. And they introduce it in episode 22. And so it's like, hey, we've took this egg with a love potion in it, and we buried it into this dragon that Regina happened to bring with her to this world. And she didn't bring her as Maleficent, she brought her as the dragon.
As the dragon.
So, yeah,
There
you want to say
was
something, Desi?
Another point where she's talking to Mr. Gold and she wants something from him, and he's like, well, you don't have anything I want. She has Belle. Why wouldn't she offer that up? That's something that he doesn't find out until the Mad Hatter sets Belle free. Like, Regina had a bargaining chip. I don't know why she didn't use that.
Well, and that is a very strange one too. The whole Belle thing is like, what did she bring her for? Like we knew she was messing with him when she said that Belle died in the other world, but like, why bring her along and then keep her in the basement forever? And then the other thing is the Belle scene where she convinces Belle to go kiss him, and then like the magic starts to wear off. Why wasn't that like permanent? Why was it just a shade of it? Does that? I don't know.
Oh no.
So it's like
they play fast
can,
and loose with the rules. I
Yeah.
know you're very much
you
want
yeah,
your set of
yeah,
rules,
I do,
and you
I
want
do.
them to be consistent, but they do not stay consistent. The rules bounce all over the place, and they serve the plot, which there is quite a bit of plot.
So this bothered me too, and this is more of a Disney Plus issue, I think, than it is a Once Upon a Time issue, and I'm not sure you can make this out, but if you look at the fourth icon over, it's the White Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
Did we see the White Rabbit?
I don't remember seeing him.
I don't think we. Yeah.
I
Just
don't
on
remember
the
seeing that
cards.
little fella.
That's
Look
what
at
I'm
him.
saying. That because I
He
saw
looks
it.
like a DJ.
Isn't that from the Wonderland? Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
Yeah,
I think
he was
so,
in
and but like this episode was not about that in the least. This was like
Yeah.
this was episode 8, Desperate Souls, way before the Jefferson episode, which was the first time we went into Wonderland.
Yeah.
Oh God, Jefferson and the White Rabbit. Oh Lord. Oh, I'm so angry.
the
Oh,
stuffed
I'm
rabbit.
so mad
you mean?
right now.
Why?
Yeah, Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, all that.
Oh, one pill makes you smaller and one pill makes you tall.
Oh God, why did I not put that together until this moment? I really liked this show, but it is making, and maybe Desi's right. Maybe Desi's point is good, that you're not supposed to watch television, you're not supposed to consume media in the way that we do now. But I really enjoyed this show, and I am baffled. Maybe I just need to get to Hook. Maybe Hook is like my guiding point. If I get to Hook, things will get better. That handsome, he's a snack, that guy.
Wow.
Can I bring up one more thing that's irritating to me? Is the
Please.
fact that Regina has had her son since birth for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, he just says, "You're the evil queen. I want to find my birth mom. Goodbye." And he takes Emma's side every single time. He never takes Regina's side in any
I know, it's so
argument or
sad.
anything. Every single time. And the whole time she's like, "I just want the best for you, Henry. I just love you." And he's like, "You're evil, blah, blah, blah." Why? They never really expound upon why Henry thinks she's evil.
So that is because the actress asked them to tone down the abuse that she was putting Henry through. If you look the mine episode where Henry gets stuck in the mine, she is quite physical with him in that episode, and I think from there it starts to tone down. So I think it was envisioned to be a lot rougher of an upbringing. I mean, this is a really weird story because basically it's a kid having a psychological break,
Mhm.
and
Mm-hmm.
but then it's real. I don't know, man. That was tough, especially like.
That's true.
Go ahead.
It made me wonder if one of the writers was adopted and just had a really bad relationship with his or her adopted parents, and came up with this fantasy in his or her mind that their birth mom was out there somewhere, and that's why this all happened. Was that's what I was thinking, was maybe a writer just was disgruntled with growing up maybe in the system, and then got stuck with really bad foster parents and was adopted by a really bad family. That's what I was thinking, was that they were trying to make some kind of point.
They
And I thought
don't
that was
address it though.
interesting.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Stephanie.
I was just gonna say, I thought it was interesting too, because Emma grew up in the system, right? Because she
Yeah,
was
and
a
they made
foster
that
kid.
sound awful
And
too.
that was different, but they had a difference between you have Henry over here in this beautiful house, and like you said, Patrick, like maybe they didn't show as much of the abuse, but to me that would have made more sense had they shown that, because then it was like, oh, you both had these terrible upbringings, and you can kind of, come together on that point too.
Yeah. But again, they don't really address the fact that like they didn't go into the idea that he could be actually mentally ill. They didn't go into that. Because it's just like, well, that's just a fantasy he's got, and we're gonna let that play out. And so like the TV show, I don't know, you guys probably never saw this. It was an FX show, so maybe it'll be on Disney Plus. Legion, where it's it's like the X-Men Legion. You literally couldn't tell, is he crazy or is he not? Like, you felt crazy. Like, they did such a good job of going, wait a minute, is it real or is it not real? I can't tell. How can he tell what's real and what's not? And so they never even stopped for a minute to visit that. Like, we already know because we're seeing the flashbacks the entire time. It's never a secret to us. It's never a reveal to us because we are always seeing the flashback. So it's not like a Darth Vader thing. We always are seeing the whole thing as the audience. But what if they had that moment with him? And maybe if this was done today, they would go into that a little bit more. I don't know.
I think that this is somebody looking at the end of Saint Elsewhere and being like, nah, but what if it's real? The very famous end of Saint Elsewhere, where it's all a kid's vision in the globe. And it feels like turning that trope on its head and being, okay, this is the world that the kid sees. It's also very real. It had other avenues that I think it could have explored, but I think it stuck with the fantastical, and that's probably a better idea.
Well, and again, it was a nighttime, theoretically a nighttime soap opera, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't.
This wasn't Saturday
prime
morning
time.
cartoons.
Wasn't this in the 10 o'clock Eastern slot? Right? It was 10. It wasn't.
Like
yeah, I think it was a 10.
This
I don't
Once
recall.
Upon a Time.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was definitely a
earlier.
later. I don't think it was an 8 o'clock show.
It was either a 9 or a 10. I don't. East. We go by East Coast bias here.
I mean, it's real time.
By the
I
way,
always tell people that East Coast is real time. Everything else is.
by the way,
Stephanie.
Did anybody hear what Jennifer Godwin said at D23?
What?
About
What?
Zootopia?
She said she hopes to revisit Mary Margaret and that they reboot Once Upon a Time.
What?
Oh my god, I would.
I mean,
love
they
that.
certainly.
would
they
be so
certainly
happy.
could. I mean, that's certainly something they could do. How about when in the last episode where Emma takes Regina into the closet and roughs her up?
Yeah, and which one is abusive? Come on.
Oh,
They
shoot.
both broke ribs in that fight scene. They needed to
What?
calm down.
I mean,
my gosh.
it was pretty intense, but that whole end scene. I guess it's this is episode 22. This is the end. 21. It ends with Henry going, "I'm gonna eat this, and I'm gonna prove it to you." And he eats the apple tart and collapses. And then she's like, "What's wrong with him? What happened to him? He just told you." He just told you this is why he's eating it, is because he wants to prove to you that this is
Prove
going to
it.
happen. And then it does. And they're like, what could this be? Where is this? What's happening? And so then she finally, kind of comes to her senses, understands that all of this is real. I guess comes to her senses, understands all this is real. She absorbs it all in a moment. And now the savior is real and she knows that it's all true. And she confronts her as the queen and your majesty. And now it's all out in the open. It's like everybody knows Hannah Montana's secret. We all know who everybody is. But let me like the other thing with the secret that we don't know for a while, which I kind of love, was the whole Rumple and Regina, and she doesn't know if he knows or not until she corners him. And that moment was one of the coolest moments, I thought, where she's like, your real name. And then they kind of go back and forth, and he finally just like says it in the most disgusting of ways. Like he just, like, it hurts him to say it.
He had such
And-
a way with his voice.
Yes, he sure did, dearie. He sure did. Yeah, and then like him showing up like with, the cloak on for no particular reason, because he only
Because
wanted
he
it
looks
for,
fabulous. Do you need
Absolutely.
another reason?
I mean, no. He's amazing. I mean, which one? We still talking about Rumpel, or are you talking about Josh Dallas there?
Josh
Um,
Dallas's outfit had nothing on Rumple's.
yeah, well, I don't know. They're both wearing the heck out of those leather pants. That's all I'm saying. So, but again, this is where like it's almost like somebody else wrote somebody wrote the first 21 episodes, and then for the 22nd episode they're like, look, we need to wrap this up in a way that ends this season and begins another one, but we don't know what we're doing. Will you write this? Because again, it's separate from all of it. It's like we're going to introduce all these other things, like the Maleficent character, and I mean, it just we've already met her, but like putting her in
I was gonna say, yeah.
I mean, they did introduce her, but like putting her in Storybrooke, we didn't know that was a thing. We didn't even know necessarily she was alive, because the first flashback was when she got the curse away from her. Could have been before any of that took place. The killing of her dad in the beginning.
Yes.
Like, we had father issues in Lost, we have mother issues in this one. But in this one, it was just so like, I knew that was going to happen, but I love this. I saw it the second time when it was Kylo and Han Solo. It was exactly that moment, Desi. No, I mean,
love
what?
Regina. She's my favorite TV show character of all time.
But it was but listen, it was so similar. It was like, I need to do something, but I don't think I have the strength to do it. And he's like, I would do anything for you. And she's like, that makes it easier. Give me like. Right? Tell me that's not similar.
I mean, I guess I'm a sucker for that kind of story. I love redeemed villains. That is my go-to story arc, I guess. So say what you will. If Regina is the female version of Kylo, well, then that explains why my first ever Disney-bound Dapper Day, I went as Regina, because she is my favorite character ever from any TV show.
Okay. No, that's fine. So I did not know that about you.
I mean, he doesn't have his arms.
So I don't remember. So you can go ahead. I told Stephanie before, they were talking about, when we pre-show, they were talking about episodes like in season 5, and I'm like, whoa, because I've somehow blocked out most of this. It's all new to me again. So when I'm going back through and watching it, I'm like surprised at things like Ruby turns into the wolf and things like that. The dad part I remember very clearly, and I'm watching it with my wife, too. And she didn't remember it. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna get ugly. Do we see somehow a return for Pinocchio, or no? Like, does he ever come back, or is he just wood from this point
I don't
on?
like those. You've unlocked a new fear in me. I don't like wooden people.
They should have had Geppetto come and give him a kiss.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she's broken the curse at the end, theoretically. I love the idea, because I was like, everybody's asking the question, like, why? Oh, by the way, did you guys know the reference of like the clock starts moving at 8:15?
Yeah.
And the oceanic 8:15? You knew that?
Oh no.
No.
Didn't catch that.
From Lost? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh,
But when the I lost the thread there on that one. What were we talking about? Oh, the Pinocchio thing and yeah. So when they break the curse at the end, and everybody's like, why didn't we go home? And then Regina's like, there is no home. It doesn't exist anymore. Like, is that true? Because I feel like they go to so many places later. And can't we go to the Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas doorways that Jefferson took us to and get back that way? Is that a possibility? I don't know. Stephanie, explain everything to me right now.
Use the multiverse. I don't know. I feel like their, trope of Regina brought it back, from where we were. She brought this egg. She brought this vault with all the hearts. She brought this magical sword. She brings all these magical incanted, things, and then yet she can't get them back. Like, she can't get them back to their original place. So I don't know. I think that they just, like I said, they're trying to set up for season 2.
And
Keep
then
the story moving.
But then the whole episode sends us chasing after this egg and this love potion. No one thinks, hey, maybe a couple people give Henry a kiss to see if that works, because that's what ends up breaking the curse. Like, she goes on this entire escapade for them to explain to us that the dragon's in the basement, or the dragon has the egg in it, then to go about it in the basement, then to get her into the basement, then for her to fight the dragon, and then to come back empty-handed and then kiss him on the head and it fixed it. You were already there. You could have done that, or at least tried it. I don't know. I mean, if she's like loves him so much, she would never have kissed him on the forehead or something. I don't know. There's a lot of things. So basically, the last problem that I have in this whole thing is that the blue fairy has
terrible shoes.
Yes, exactly. Can we at least talk about her footwear in some way, shape, or form? No, that the blue fairy, talk about a connected universe. Maybe the blue fairy is also Belle from Descendants. What?
Yes, she is.
They're connected. And then maybe the musical episode
Drizzy,
in
Drizzy from Descendants is also young Drizella in this, or Dizzy.
Gotcha. The one other thing that drives me crazy about this episode is that I know Dr. Whale and who he ends up being later, and it's dumb.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to be called Dr. Whale. I thought it was going to be connected to Pinocchio.
But it's dumb that Dr. Whale is really Dr. Frankenstein. Like, where did we take a left turn? Like, then here's Ebenezer Scrooge, and like over here, I mean, like, right? Like, it just seems like we're, like, to Patrick's point, like too many characters. But like, I don't know. Dr. Frankenstein seems like a weird one. I know we've been talking about this for a long time, but like I said, 17 hours, 17 hours of TV. We're gonna give our final. Go ahead.
Somebody in the beginning was like, are we going to see more Deep in the Plus season reviews? I don't think for another 20 episode season we are.
I think we should. Next week, come back for season 2.
Well, I mean, okay. So what I want to do is I want to go in through and give our final thoughts. But when you do, one other thing maybe I would ask you is, would you want to do a review of a season 2, etc.? And I feel like one person, at least I know, says yes. I don't know about all of them. But if we ever go through and decide to do stuff from Hulu, can we do After Baywatch Moment in the Sun? Can we do that? This documentary?
If you will let me do that thing you do, then I will watch After Baywatch.
She hit me up in chat and it was like, hey, I've talked to Nick and Shannon and we want to do that thing you do. And I'm like, yeah, if you look at the bottom right under the play button and it says included with your Hulu subscription, no, you can't. That's not Deep in the Plus. That's the Hoodoo and the Hulu. I don't know. It's something else. But
let us know in the comments if you think that Rob should make an exception and let us do that thing you do.
Well, if we make one exception, it's going to be crazy.
If it's done
out.
from Nick's Maxi Van, I think you're good.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys for watching tonight. We appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. We want to give a shout out to our WIGS members. We love our WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. That's our Patreon program. If you want to know more about it, you can go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Deep in the Plus is on every Wednesday night. Next week, we're going to be doing Toy Story 1. Ever heard of it? We're going really deep for that one. And then the week after that,
when are you going to get to Toy Story 4? I love that one.
We've done Toy Story 4. Desi has done Toy Story 4 for the people. She did. Did you see?
Her eyes are hurting me.
This is my review for Toy Story 4.
Desi, did you see that I don't know if you saw this or not, but I feel like I may have, maybe did I do it or not? I feel like I reposted, that Quentin Tarantino said that the Toy Story trilogy was so perfect he'll never watch Toy Story 4.
Good for him. I wish
yes.
that I had, I wish that was my life.
Who was asking Quentin Tarantino these questions? I don't know, but he had said
he just volunteered that
hard-hitting
information.
questions.
He said
He
the
was there
third one
in
is
and
one of the
out, and was just like, yeah, I'll never watch Toy Story 4.
The third one is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I have no desire to see the fourth one. You ended the story as perfect as you could, so I don't care if it's good. I'm not watching it.
Agreed.
Anyway,
Good for you.
Don't tell him
Everyone
there's a
else...
Toy Story 5 coming.
And Woody is in it somehow? What?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
Anyway,
what
we're going to
happened?
do Never Been Kissed and then Return to Oz. So that's coming up. And then we'll be getting into spooky season soon. So we got a lot of stuff for that. If you missed last week's Park Center, don't forget to go back and check that one out. But now is the time. Now is the best time. We're going to go through our panelists, starting with, let's start with Desi and work our way backwards this time. We've watched 22 episodes. If you were walking down the street and somebody said, Desi, I'm looking for something good to watch, would you recommend Once Upon a Time? And
I mean, if
specifically,
they're like,
specifically season 1.
if they're like, I'm looking for a show, is Once Upon a Time going to be the first thing that pops into my head? Probably not. But if somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, I've never seen Once Upon a Time. Is that a good show? Should I watch it? I'd be like, heck yes, you should. That is a great show. I love it. Maybe don't binge all 17 hours of it in a weekend like I did. But yeah, watch it, here, there, wherever you've got a spare hour. Yes, please. I love it. I think it is so charming. And honestly, I didn't even do that on purpose.
Charming.
I enjoyed the heck out of watching it again, even though there were some cringy moments. And looking back now, knowing that Josh Dallas left his wife for Jennifer Goodwin, and basically exactly like season 1 story arc for those two, that is, made me clutch my pearls a little bit. But other than that, I thought that this was a great season, and there are some even better seasons to come, and then some not so good ones. But at least the next couple ones are good too.
And you even still recommended him or ranked him number 2 after Mr. Gray. Patrick?
I mean, he's a handsome guy.
He's a very attractive man. Is I don't know an option here because I don't know. I don't know if I'd recommend this. Knowing what I know that comes later, yeah, I like it. I liked the series. Watching this, I think there's so many others. This was such a great time of television. Desi mentioned Heroes before. This is right before streaming took over and somehow improved and ruined television all at the same time. I don't know. There's so much better on Disney Plus. I don't know, but like if somebody said, hey, I heard something about Once Upon a Time, like Desi said, yeah, go watch it. Check it out. Maybe watch it on like 1.5 speed. I don't know. Yeah. I give it an in the middle.
Give it an in the middle. All right, Stephanie.
Yeah.
I second Patrick's in the middle. I agree with that. I think if you are certainly a 15-year-old to 30-year-old young girl that loves fairy tales, this is the show for you. 2 thumbs up. And if you just like fever dreams, and then that would be great too. But I do think that, like you talked about, Rob, I think that you need to go back and watch Lost first, because there's a lot of references to that, a lot of the same actors in this show. And it's a subpar to Lost, I feel like, but it's still a very good show.
Yeah, you know what? I've had a lot of fun rewatching it. Like you can almost do Mystery Science Theater to this show because there's so many what? Again, Dreamy is the name of Grumpy, and he hatches from an egg, and they give him a pickaxe, and he joins the other 7 dudes, and then I mean, it's kind of out there. But my wife and I were talking about, would we continue watching it? Now that we've watched season 1, would we continue watching it for season 2? Honestly, I had to jump ahead to season 2, episode 1, because I was like, I don't remember what happens next. And they leave you kind of in the lurch here because, they're like, well, what happens now? Bum, bum, bum. And then, we're done. But the bad part about the binging thing is you would have had to have waited until next season. The good part about the binging thing is you can click, go to the next one, and then see who's Neil? What's going on here? What's happening with Neil? And then also
Do we care?
Mulan is hanging out with Prince Philip, and there's wraiths for some reason. Like, I mean, again, it starts going like as crazy, Patrick, as season 1 was with all the people and the storylines and all that kind of stuff. I feel like they were like, hold my beer, we can do double down in season 2 already, just the first episode. So we're trying to figure out if we're going to go back through and rewatch it or not, and maybe get to season 4 where they introduced Frozen a little early, just because it was the IP of the day. Crazy that they would have done that, but we really just need to get to those Hook episodes because, I mean, come on. He's the reason. Thank you guys so
And
much
the
for
Robin
watching.
Hood episodes.
Oh, Robin Hood. Yay. Dr. Frankenstein. Thank you guys for watching.
He was
all
also
this.
in Heroes.
Yeah. We appreciate you. Have a great week. We will be we got Labor Day weekend coming up, but we're going to be doing a Park Center on Sunday night, so hopefully you guys will join us for that. And then come back again for Deep in the Plus anytime you want. We have over 200 plus reviews on deepintheplus.com. Go hang out, take a look. Desi is like the reigning queen right now with Inside Out. Has passed 10,000 views, so we're...
What?
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
Great job.
Yeah. So go check that one out, and there's another Goofy movie, which who knows what's going on there. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Just keep waving. Harder.